Hello, everyone. I'm Kristin O'Donnell. Great, just making sure the sound is on. Good to see you this Friday afternoon. And I'm Kristin O'Donnell. I just want to mention that Hands to Heart Center Yoga for the People is a nonprofit organization that shares the healing practices of yoga with people affected by addiction, poverty, and trauma in Greater Boston. Hands to Heart Center would like to thank the Boston Public Library for partnering with us on this virtual project. Welcome to virtual yoga. If you have any props, feel free to grab 2 blocks, or if you have 2 books that are the same height, you can use those as blocks. And if you have a blanket or any cushions, you can feel to reach for those as well, making sure you have everything you need at arm's reach to your mat. And whenever you're ready, maybe finding a seated shape or maybe choosing to lie down on your back. If you do have any props, feel free to use them in either seated or lying down to help cushion you and help support you in whichever shape you choose to start class with today. This is your practice. I'm here as a guide to help give choices for movement and stillness. But feel free, if you'd like at any point in time, to move in any other way that feels right in your body. So that can be something completely different than what I'm doing. Please feel free to choose whatever feels right for you, whether or not, I'm doing it as well. So once you find your seated or lying down shape, one choice might be to close your eyes or maybe keep a soft gaze in front of you. And whenever you're ready, maybe starting to check in with your body. You might start to notice that you're breathing, maybe noticing your inhales and exhales. And you might start to notice that maybe your body moves with your breath. Sometimes as we breathe in and out, our body starts to move with our breathing. So we might start to notice our shoulders moving up and down, our chest rising and falling. Maybe noticing your abdomen expand and contract. Taking a moment to check in with yourself and your body, noticing your breath, noticing your body and any movements in your body. Maybe even noticing some aches or pains or sensations in your body this afternoon. If you'd like, maybe taking a few moments to check in with yourself, maybe with your eyes closed or open, and allowing yourself to notice without judgment what might be showing up for you today. If you'd like, maybe taking a few breaths or a few moments in this place to become aware. And if you are lying down, maybe slowly starting to make your way to a seated shape whenever you're ready. Taking your time with that movement, finding your way to seated whenever you'd like. And in your own time, maybe slowly starting to add some movement in your body. If you'd like, you can choose to move your head from side to side. Another choice might be to move your head up towards the ceiling and down towards the ground. A third choice might be maybe to add some head circles, maybe moving your head from left to right in half head circles. Maybe moving your head all the way around in full head circles, allowing yourself to move in any way that feels right for you. And if you did choose full head circles, maybe doing a few in both directions. So again, maybe experimenting with moving your head from side to side, maybe moving your head up and down, or possibly moving your head in circles. Maybe noticing how your head and neck feel with any movement that you chose. And you can always choose to find stillness, and always choose to pause if you'd like as well. Finding your way back to center whenever you're ready. And maybe starting to move your shoulders. If you'd like, you can start to move your shoulders up and down a few times, maybe bringing your shoulders up towards your ears. And in your own time, maybe lowering them back down. Another choice might be to move your shoulders in circles. Finding whatever movement or stillness you might like. If you chose circles, maybe doing a few in both directions. So again, maybe working with a few choices, maybe moving your shoulders up and down a few times, or maybe moving your shoulders in circles. And if you'd like, maybe starting to lower your shoulders down, letting them rest whenever you're ready. You might start to add some movement in your upper body. So maybe moving your upper body from side to side. Another choice might be to move your upper body forward and back. Making this movement as big or as small as you might like, really listening to your body and finding what feels the best for you. And if you'd like, maybe adding some upper body circles as well. Moving in any way you might like, moving your upper body from side to side, maybe moving your upper body forward and back, or possibly adding some circles. And if you chose circles, maybe doing a few in both directions. Choosing how big or how small any movement that you end up making actually is. Really listening to what your body needs and is asking for. Finding your way back to center whenever you're ready. And if you'd like, maybe bringing the right hand behind your back, maybe possibly bringing the left hand to your right knee into a twist to the right side. If you'd like, inhaling, maybe lengthening your spine a little bit. And on your exhale, if you'd like to twist a little bit more, feel free to do that with that exhale breath. One choice might be to stay in this twist for a few breaths. And another choice might be to add movement. Maybe you choose to come back through center and twist over to the left side. Maybe this time bringing the left hand behind your back, right hand resting on your left knee. You can choose to, on your inhale, to extend your head and spine up towards the ceiling. And maybe on your exhale, twisting a little bit more into the shape. Finding stillness if you'd like on one side. And if you'd like, maybe adding movement. So a few choices here. You might choose to move from side to side at your own pace. Or you might choose to pause in a twist on one side for a few moments, or as long as you might like. Allowing yourself to experiment with adding movement or stillness. And in your own time, maybe slowly making your way back to center whenever you're ready. If you'd like, maybe bringing your right hand to the right side of your mat, possibly bringing your left hand overhead. So again, playing around with the same choices, maybe pausing on one side of this side stretch, or if you'd like to add movement, maybe moving through center and then making your way over to the left side. Left hand comes down to the ground, right hand comes up overhead. Allowing yourself time to work with both choices, maybe pausing on one side of the shape, maybe in your own time moving from one side to the other. Really allowing the pace to be whatever feels right for you. And in your own time, whenever you're ready, slowly starting to make your way back to a seated shape whenever you'd like. And maybe taking a moment, if you'd like, to start to walk your hands forward into a forward fold. One choice might be to stay in this shape, maybe with your back straight, or you might choose to curve your lower back, bringing your head down towards the ground. Another choice might be to add movement. Maybe you choose to walk your hands forward and back. Allowing movement, possibly walking your hands forward and back, or maybe walking your hands forward and pausing in the forward fold shape. Taking your time, experimenting with one or both choices. And in your own time, whenever you're ready, slowly starting to make your way back to seated. Another choice might be maybe to bring your hands behind your back, possibly staying here, or if you'd like, you might lift your head and chest up towards the ceiling, maybe coming into a gentle back bend. You might choose to stay still, or if you'd like to add movement, you might choose to bring your head up towards the ceiling in your own time, and then bringing your head down to look down towards the ground. So possibly adding movement with your head moving up and down, or possibly being still with your head in either shape, coming into that back bend, or maybe starting to look down towards the ground. Finding any movement or stillness you might like in this shape. And whenever you're ready, slowly making your way back to center. In your own time, you might start to bring your hands back to center. And if you'd like, maybe finding your way to bring your legs out in front of your body. If you're sitting on something, you might stay seated on it, or maybe moving it to the side, bringing your legs out in front of your body if you'd like. You might choose to flex your feet, maybe bringing your head and spine up towards the ceiling. If you'd like, you can imagine a string pulling your head and spine up away from you towards the ceiling. Pausing in this shape, and if you'd like, another choice might be to walk your hands down your legs, maybe pausing in that shape in a forward fold for a few breaths. Another choice might be to walk your hands up and down your legs a few times, maybe adding a movement in this shape. Or maybe choosing to stay seated. Really using whichever one of these choices you might like and experimenting with that as much as you might like to work with it. Experimenting with walking your hands forward, maybe pausing in a forward fold. Another choice might be to walk your hands up and down your legs a few times. And a third choice might be to stay seated, finding any movement or stillness you might like in your body. And whenever you're ready in your own time, maybe slowly starting to make your way back to seated. Making your way there whenever you're ready, and possibly bending your right leg, maybe bringing your right foot to rest against your left leg. If you'd like, you might start to bring your upper body to face your left leg. And again, experimenting with the same choices. You might choose to stay seated in this shape. Maybe this feels like enough for you. Another choice might be to walk your hands down your left leg, maybe pausing with your hands resting anywhere on your left leg, whether it's your upper leg, lower leg, or maybe you can reach your toes in your foot. Or a third choice might be to walk your hands up and down your left leg a few times. Choosing between adding movement and choosing between being still. Finding stillness in a seated shape, or maybe in a forward fold with your hands extended down your left leg. Or finding movement while moving your arms up and down your left leg a few times. And whenever you're ready, in your own time, maybe slowly starting to come back to a seated shape. And maybe extending your right leg once again. Whenever you're ready, maybe moving to the other side. You might start to bend your left knee, bringing your left foot to rest on your upper right leg. Maybe bringing your upper body to face your right leg and experimenting with any of those choices once again. You might choose to stay seated, maybe pausing in this shape, maybe choosing to walk your hands forward and letting your hands rest at any place for a forward fold. Maybe it's your upper leg, lower leg, maybe it's your foot and toes. Or possibly bringing movement into this shape, maybe walking your hands up and down your leg a few times. Finding whatever works in your body, whatever feels right in your body, whether adding movement or maybe being still. And maybe it's the same as the other side, maybe it's a little bit different. So once again, playing and experimenting with one or all of the shapes. Walking your hands forward, maybe pausing in the forward fold, maybe staying seated, or maybe choosing to walk your hands up and down your leg a few times. In your own time, maybe coming back to your seated shape and maybe extending both legs out in front of you once again. Whenever you're ready, maybe starting to bring your hands and knees to the mat. And if you notice that your knees need a little bit of cushioning, feel free to bring a blanket or a cushion underneath your knees so that they have a bit more cushioning where they need it. Bringing your hands and knees to the mat whenever you're ready, and maybe seeing if your wrists are underneath your shoulders and knees are underneath your hips. Finding a few cat-cow movements in your own time. If you'd like, you might choose to look up in front of you. Maybe there's a little curve in your lower back for your cow shape. And whenever you're ready, maybe moving into your cat shape, you might lower your head down and curve your lower back up towards the ceiling. Choosing to move back and forth from one shape to the other in your own time. If you would like to add your breath, maybe inhaling, head and chest come up into cow shape. And on your exhale, maybe lowering your head down and curving your lower back up into cat shape. You can always choose to pause and be still in one shape or the other. Really allowing yourself to listen to your body, moving in any way that feels right for you. You might choose to move back and forth from cow to cat in your own time, or you might choose to be still in one shape or the other. Maybe choosing to pause for a few moments before continuing with your movement. My cat Marshmallow is coming in and out of our class today. I think she kind of wants to do yoga, but she's not too sure of it. So again, experimenting with your cat-cow movements or experimenting with stillness. And then in your own time, whenever you're ready, possibly coming back to center. Maybe taking a moment here, and if you'd like, you can choose to bring some movement in your hips, maybe moving your hips from side to side. Experimenting with any movement you might like. Another choice might be maybe to move your head over one shoulder, looking at maybe your left foot, and then in your own time, maybe moving your hip over your left shoulder or right shoulder to look at your right foot. So that might be in addition to moving your hips from side to side as well. Finding any movement or stillness you might like in this shape with your hands and knees on the mat. And whenever you're ready, finding your way back to center in your own time. And maybe slowly sitting your hips back towards your feet. You might keep your knees together, or you might choose to widen your knees, allowing your hips to sit back towards your feet in your own time, maybe bringing your hands forward in front of your body. And if you'd like, you might choose to bring your head down to the floor, or if you have a block or book, you might bring your head to rest on that as well. Taking a few moments in your child shape. And if you'd like, maybe adding some movement in this shape, you might choose to walk your hands over to the right side of your mat. Maybe extending the reach of your left hand a little bit more, and you might start to notice a sensation in your left side body. Taking a few moments in this shape if you'd like. And whenever you're ready, maybe slowly starting to come back to center. And in your own time, maybe walking your hands over to the left side of your mat, possibly reaching your right hand a little further than the left. You might notice a stretch in your right side body this time. Taking a few moments in this side of the shape. And in your own time, finding your way back to center. If you'd like, maybe coming back to your table shape on your hands and knees, and possibly moving into your downward dog shape. So maybe keeping your hands where they are underneath your shoulders. Or if you'd like, you can bring them slightly forward, and then maybe starting to press your toes into the mat, maybe straightening your knees, and eventually bringing your hips up towards the ceiling. You might choose to be still in this shape. You might choose to add movement, maybe bending one knee and then the other, possibly walking in place in this shape. Another choice might be to move your hips from side to side. Or a third choice might be to bend and straighten both knees a few times. Really, allowing yourself to move in any way that feels nice in your body, that feels enjoyable for you. Or allowing yourself to be still if that feels what's right for your body in this moment. And whenever you're ready, if you'd like, maybe coming to that stillness if you're not already there. And in your own time, maybe slowly lowering your knees down to the floor. If you'd like, maybe bringing your hands underneath your shoulders, once again, if they're not already there. And possibly extending your right foot behind you. If you'd like, you can press your right toes into the mat. Maybe choosing to add some movement, you might choose to rock forward and back a few times. Possibly noticing a stretch in your right calf muscle. Whenever you're ready, maybe choosing to find stillness and possibly lifting your right leg hip height. You might pause in this shape. If you would like a little bit more, you might choose to extend your left arm out in front of you. Finding any variation you might choose, whether it's your leg by itself or it's your arm and your leg at the same time. Taking a moment or two in this shape, and whenever you're ready, maybe lowering your leg down to the floor in your hand if you chose to raise it up to the floor as well. Finding your way to the other side, maybe extending your left leg behind you, and if you'd like, possibly pressing your toes into the mat. Maybe adding some movement on this side of the shape, maybe rocking forward and back. You might notice a gentle stretch in your left calf muscle, maybe somewhere else. Coming back to center whenever you're ready, and possibly bringing your left leg hip height this time. You might choose to stay here. Maybe this is as far as you go. Or if you'd like, you can start to extend your right arm out in front. Choosing whichever variation feels right in your body and feels accessible to you. Extending the left leg behind you, and if you'd like, maybe extending the right arm out in front. Taking a moment or two in either variation, and whenever you're ready, maybe lowering your leg down to the ground, possibly lowering your arm as well. Once you're back in your table shape with hands and knees on the mat, if you'd like, maybe bringing your right foot in between your hands. If you do have those blocks or books, you can choose to bring them underneath your hands on either side of your right leg. You can also have your hands on the mat as well. One choice might be to stay in this shape, or if you'd like, you might start to add some movement. Maybe you start to walk your hands forward, possibly bringing your hips along for the ride. Maybe choosing to walk your hands back behind you, and maybe your hips follow as well. Knowing that your movement can be anywhere on the range. Maybe this movement for you is very small, and maybe only you know that there's movement. Or maybe the movement is a bit bigger. So, as I mentioned before, really listening to your body and noticing what feels okay and what might feel like a bit too much for your body today. And knowing that it might be different on one side than the other. But at this moment, really listening to the right side with the right leg in front. Adding whatever movement or stillness you might like in this shape. And in your own time, whenever you're ready, maybe starting to make your way back to center, back to that kneeling lunge shape. And from here, if you'd like, maybe walking your right leg over to the right side of your mat. So your hands might be on the inside of your right leg. And I'll move so that you can see from the front what that might look like. So from the front, you have your right leg on the right side of your mat. Hands are on the inside. You might stay in this choice if you'd like to move around and find a different variation. You might choose to bring your forearms down to the mat. Or if you do have a block or book, you can bring your hands or forearm on top of that block or book. Maybe choosing to bring your left knee up off the mat. So maybe finding any combination of changes that you might like in this shape and taking several moments to pause in this shape whenever you have found where you'd like to stay for a little bit. You can always add movement. Maybe you choose to add some of that back and forth movement that we were doing in the last shape. Finding stillness or movement in any shape that we do. And maybe it's something I'm doing as well. Maybe it's something that you find on your own. So really allowing that to happen in your own time whenever you're ready. Slowly starting to come back to center. So if you did raise your left leg up, the left knee up, lowering it back down to the mat. Moving any blocks or books aside, bringing your hands back to your mat whenever you're ready. And maybe bringing your right knee to meet your left knee so that your hands and knees are back in your table shape, both resting on the mat. Finding one more shape, and again, I'm going to rotate so you can see me from the front. Moving into our thread the needle shape, so you might bring the right arm up overhead, and in your own time, bringing the right arm behind your left wrist, you might bring your right shoulder and head down to the floor. And from here, you might choose to walk your left hand forward. Pausing in this shape if you'd like. Again, you might add movement, maybe moving your hips from side to side. Taking a few moments in this shape in your own time. Maybe that left hand comes towards the front of your mat. Maybe it doesn't. And whenever you're ready, maybe slowly starting to bring that left hand back towards your head. And if you'd like, maybe using your left hand to press yourself back up to your table shape. Maybe raising and lowering your right hand one more time. In your own time, once you're back in your table shape, if you'd like, you can choose to go back to your downward dog if you'd like. Maybe keeping your hands underneath your shoulders, maybe moving them forward a little bit. If you'd like, pressing your toes into the mat and possibly bringing your hips up towards the ceiling. Option to add movement in this shape again, maybe walking your dog in place, maybe moving your hips or bending your knees, or maybe being still. And then in your own time, maybe lowering your knees back down to the mat, finding your table shape, bringing your hands in underneath your shoulders if they're not already there. And in your own time, maybe moving into the other side, maybe bringing your left hand in between your hands, left foot in between your hands. If you have blocks or books, maybe bringing your hands to rest on top of them on either side of your left foot. Or maybe hands are on the floor. Option to start to walk your hands forward. Maybe your hips choose to come along for the ride. And again, experimenting with any movement or stillness on this side of the shape. Allowing yourself to be still if you'd like, or maybe noticing a very small movement back and forth. Or maybe this becomes a bigger movement. Once again, listening to your body and allowing yourself to notice what feels okay and what feels like enough. Sometimes your body will let you know, okay, it's time to stop here. We don't want to go any further. So if you can, allowing yourself to listen to what your body might be telling you on this side of the shape, and know that it might be completely different than what it was saying on the other side of the shape. Finding any movement or stillness. And in your own time, maybe slowly starting to make your way back to neutral, back to that kneeling lunge where you started. And from here, maybe bringing your left foot out to the far left edge of your mat with both hands on the inside of your left leg. So again, I'll rotate to the front so you can see what that might look like. The left foot is on the left side of the mat. Both hands are on the inside. And if you have a block or book, you can choose to bring your hands or forearms to rest on that block or book. Hands or forearms can also rest on the mat. And you can always choose to bring your right knee up off the mat if you would like. Finding any variation that you would prefer in this shape. Choosing to have your hands or forearms on the mat or block or book. Choosing to raise your right knee up off the floor. Allowing yourself in your own time to add movement or be still. Maybe you choose to rock forward and back gently. Finding any movement or stillness and allowing yourself to notice the shape in your body. Whenever you're ready in your own time, if you did raise your right knee up off the floor, maybe starting to bring it down to the floor. Maybe moving any props aside, any books or blocks aside, and bringing your hands back to the mat. And if you'd like, maybe bringing your left foot to meet the right, coming back to your table shape. And then from here, if you'd like, I'm going to face you once again. Maybe bringing the left arm up overhead, maybe then bringing that left arm behind your right wrist, possibly bringing your left shoulder and head down to the floor. You might choose to stay here. You might choose to walk your right hand towards the front of your mat, pausing there. Maybe finding some movement in this shape. You might move your hips from side to side. Experimenting with this thread the needle shape. And in your own time, if you'd like, maybe slowly bringing your right hand back towards your head if it's not already there. And maybe using your right hand to come back to your table shape. Maybe the left hand reaches up and down one more time before coming back to the mat. In your own time, if you'd like, possibly moving back to your downward dog. Hands might stay where they are, maybe they come slightly forward. And possibly pressing your toes into the mat, straightening your knees, and maybe bringing your hips up towards the ceiling. You can always bring movement or stillness into this shape whenever you make your way there. And if you'd like, maybe slowly starting to walk your feet towards your hands. Finding your way to a forward fold, maybe bringing your opposite hand to opposite elbow. You might choose to rock from side to side. You might choose to shake your head yes or no. Possibly adding any movement or stillness into the shape. And in your own time, whenever you're ready, maybe releasing your hands down and slowly rolling yourself up to standing. You might start to bring your head up last. And if you did have a blanket or cushion on your mat, feel free to move that to the side. Finding your way to the front of your mat and maybe bringing both feet hip width apart. If you'd like, you can choose to stand here for a few moments, maybe imagining both feet planting into the ground. If you'd like, you can start to rock forward and back, maybe noticing the weight on the balls of your feet and then back to your heels a few times. If you're adding movement in this shape, maybe slowly bringing that movement to be smaller and smaller until you eventually make your way back to standing on your mat. You might notice that maybe this makes you feel more planted into your mat. Maybe it doesn't. And then from here, if you'd like, as we did earlier, you might imagine a string pulling your head and spine up towards the ceiling. So almost imagining your body being pulled in two directions, your legs down towards the ground and your head and spine up towards the ceiling. Finding that length in your own time, pausing in this shape, noticing how this standing shape feels. And whenever you're ready, if you'd like, maybe moving into our tree balancing shape. So you might bring all your weight to your right leg, maybe bringing your hands to your hips or possibly bringing both palms to touch in front of your chest. And to start, you might bring your left heel to rest against your right ankle. Maybe you choose to stay in this shape, or if you'd like to move into a balancing shape, you might bring your left foot to rest anywhere on your right leg, above or below your knee joint. Keeping your left foot off your knee joint, but bringing it above or below your knee. And then maybe finding your balance. If you'd like, you can look for a spot in front of you to focus your gaze on. That can help with balance if we're focusing on one unmoving spot in front of us. And from this place, if you'd like, you can choose to extend your arms up overhead, maybe moving into that full version of a tree. Finding whichever variation feels right in your body and maybe taking a moment or two to be still, maybe adding some movement. If you'd like, you can move your hands from side to side, possibly pretending it's a windy day. And whenever you're ready, maybe lowering your hands and your leg down. If you'd like, you can shake everything out, shaking your arms and shaking your legs. Finding your way back to that standing shape. Both feet hip width apart. And if you'd like, maybe bring your arms up overhead, palms touching overhead. And maybe inhale, lengthening your head and spine up towards the ceiling. And maybe on your exhale, moving over into a side bend, over to the right side. And maybe coming back to center. And then over to the left side. We'll do that 2 more times in both directions, coming back to center, over to the left. So adding this movement if you'd like, or allowing this to be a pause on one side or the other. And then maybe adding 1 more movement on both sides, or maybe pausing on one side for a little bit. And whenever you're ready, maybe coming back to center, you might choose to lower your arms down by your sides. Finding your way to the front of your mat in your own time, and maybe bringing your right foot forward with your left foot behind you. If you'd like, you might choose to bend your right knee. Maybe the toes of your left foot are facing towards the front of your mat. And if you'd like, maybe bringing your hips to face the front of your mat as well. In your own time, if you'd like, you can raise your arms up overhead. And we'll experiment with some movement. You can either choose to pause in this shape, or I'm going to show you from the front. If you'd like to add movement, you might start to bend your elbows and bring them to what I like to call football goalpost arms. So maybe moving your arms up, straightening your elbows, and then bending your elbows, moving the arms down halfway. So possibly adding movement, raising and lowering your arms a few times, possibly choosing to be still with your arms raised up overhead or maybe down by your sides. Finding either choice. And maybe experimenting with this shape for a moment or two in your own time. Maybe starting to lower your hands back down by your sides. And if you'd like, maybe taking your back leg, your left foot, and bringing it so it's parallel to the back of your mat. You can choose to keep a bend in your right knee, and possibly bringing your right arm forward, left arm behind you into our warrior 2 shape. Maybe pausing in this shape, or if you'd like to add movement, you might choose to gently bring the left hand to your back leg, maybe bringing the right arm up overhead, and possibly moving forward, bringing your right forearm to rest on your upper right leg and your left arm overhead. So possibly adding movement by moving back and forth from one shape to the other, or possibly being still by pausing in any of those shapes or your warrior 2. Allowing yourself to be still in your warrior 2 if you'd like, or maybe moving arms up and back, and then forward and overhead to make a continuous movement in your body. In your own time, maybe finding your way back to your warrior 2 shape, and maybe lowering your hands down by your sides if you'd like. You might choose to open your legs so that both toes are pointing towards the far edges of your mat. You might have a wide stance with your legs. You can feel free to adjust. And maybe bringing your hands back to your football goalpost arms if you chose that movement. And possibly choosing to bend and straighten your knees a few times. Finding any movement if you'd like, maybe bending and straightening your knees a few times, maybe choosing to keep your knees bent or to keep them straight. And whenever you're ready, coming back to center, maybe lowering your hands back down by your sides. And if you like, maybe walking your feet in towards each other. Possibly bringing your feet underneath your hips. And maybe experimenting with our balancing tree shape on the other side. If you'd like, you might choose to bring all your weight to your left leg. Maybe bringing your hands to your hips, or another choice might be to bring your palms in front of your chest, palms touching. And if you'd like to start, maybe bringing your right heel to rest against your left ankle. Maybe you choose to stay in this shape. Another choice might be to move into the balance, maybe bringing your right foot to rest anywhere on your left leg, above or below your knee joint. Finding a spot, if you'd like to balance, for your right foot to press into your left leg above or below your knee. And if this feels okay, maybe finding a spot in front of you to focus your gaze on. Maybe lifting your arms up overhead to grow your tree branches. If you'd like to add movement, you might move your arms from side to side. And if you fall over, that is part of the practice. So maybe taking a moment or two to add movement or stillness in your tree shape. And whenever you're ready, bringing your arms and leg down, maybe shaking all of that out. And finding the front of your mat, possibly bringing your left foot forward this time. Right foot might be behind you with a little bit of width in between your feet. Maybe bending your left knee. If you'd like, you can choose to raise your arms up overhead, maybe pausing in your warrior one shape for a few moments. Maybe adding some movement, maybe choosing to bend your elbows, coming into that football goalpost arms, and then raising your arms back up overhead. Choosing to add movement, bending and straightening your arms a few times, or choosing to be still with your arms facing up or down by your sides. In your own time, whenever you're ready, maybe starting to lower your arms down by your sides. And if you'd like, maybe bringing your right foot so that it's parallel to the back of your mat. Left knee bent again if you want it to be. And maybe bringing your left arm forward, right arm behind you. Possibly pausing in your warrior two. Or if you'd like to add movement, you might choose to bring the right hand to gently rest on the right leg. Maybe bringing the left arm overhead. Or possibly moving forward by bringing the left forearm to rest on the upper left leg, bringing your right arm overhead. Sometimes I forget my lefts and rights. So possibly adding movement in this shape, moving back and forth from one shape to the other. Maybe choosing to pause in your warrior two or either of these other shapes, moving back and forth, maybe pausing in them as well. Finding whatever movement or stillness you might like. And whenever you're ready in your own time, maybe finding your way back to your warrior two, possibly lowering your arms down and maybe bringing both feet to meet each other at the front of your mat. If you'd like, possibly making your way down to the floor. One way can be to get there any way that you might like. Another way might be to start by rolling your head down, finding your way to your forward fold. Possibly pausing in your forward fold for a moment or two. And whenever you're ready, finding your way to the mat. So maybe finding a seated shape, getting there in any way that feels right in your body. And if you'd like, maybe bringing the bottoms of your feet together. You might choose how close your feet are to your upper body or how far away they might be as well. Maybe once again, imagining that string pulling your head and spine up towards the ceiling. And if you'd like, taking a few moments in this shape. You can also, if you do have blocks or books, you might bring them underneath your knees. Maybe adding movement, you might rock from side to side in this shape, or maybe being still Staying seated with your upper body resting in the center. Finding any movement or stillness in this shape. And whenever you're ready, if you'd like, maybe bringing your hands underneath your knees, you might bring your knees in towards each other and possibly extending them out in front of you. If you'd like, maybe bending and straightening your knees a few times. If you did use blocks or books, you can feel free to move them to the side. And whenever you're ready, maybe slowly starting to make your way to lie down on your back. Finding your way to a lying down shape in your own time whenever you're ready. And maybe bringing your feet so that your feet are resting on your mat, knees are bent and reaching towards the ceiling. One choice might be to bring your right ankle to rest on your upper left leg. Maybe you choose to stay here. Maybe you choose to add movement, moving your hips from side to side in this shape. Another choice might be to bring your hands behind your left leg and possibly bringing both feet up off the ground. Finding any movement or stillness in any variation of this shape and experimenting with what feels right in your body. Keeping your hands behind your left leg so both legs are up off the floor, or maybe having your left foot resting on the floor with your right foot resting on your left leg. Adding movement or being still in this shape if you'd like, whichever you choose. And whenever you're ready, maybe lowering both legs back down to the ground. In your own time, maybe bringing your left foot to rest on your upper right leg. You might choose to stay in this shape. If you'd like, maybe starting to move your hips from side to side, or maybe bringing your hands behind your right leg this time, possibly bringing both feet up off the ground. Choosing to be still or add movement in either shape. Keeping both legs up off the ground with your hands behind your right leg, or maybe having your right foot on the floor. Maybe rocking from side to side or being still in this shape. Finding what feels right in your body, and whenever you're ready, bringing both feet back down to the ground. And then maybe moving your legs from side to side a few times if you'd like, kind of like windshield wipers, moving back and forth. If you'd like, you might choose to bring your knees into your chest, maybe continuing with that side to side movement if you would like. Or in your own time, you might choose to bring both knees over to the right side of your body. Maybe the right leg is on the ground, left leg is on top. And maybe your upper body moves over to the right side as well, so your entire body is resting on the right side. Or if you'd like, you can choose to move into a twist, maybe bringing both hands with elbows bent to those goalpost arms on either side of your body. Or maybe extending both arms out in a T shape on either side of your body. Option to bring your gaze over your left shoulder to twist in a different direction from your feet. Maybe taking a moment or two in this shape, maybe adding any movement you might like in this shape. And in your own time, maybe choosing to come back to center whenever you're ready. Possibly hugging your knees into your chest again. And if you'd like, maybe bringing both legs over to the left side. Left leg is on the floor. Right leg might be on top. You might bring your upper body over to the left side so that you're lying on your left side. Or you might choose to bring your arms in those football goalpost arms on either side of your body. Or maybe extending in a T shape on either side of your body. If you'd like, you can choose to bring your gaze over your right shoulder. Maybe taking a few moments to pause on this side of the shape, or maybe choosing to add some movement in this shape in any way that you might like. Taking a moment or two, and then whenever you're ready, moving back to the center with your back on the mat, maybe hugging your knees into your chest, possibly rocking from side to side. Whenever you're ready, maybe finding your resting shape. You might choose to keep your knees bent with your feet on the floor. You might choose to extend your legs down your mat. If you do have props, you can always bring a blanket or cushion underneath your head. You can always bring a blanket or cushion underneath your knees. Or if you'd like, you could bring 2 blocks or 2 books to the bottom of your mat, maybe bringing a blanket or cushion to rest on top of them, and then maybe bringing your feet to rest on top of them. So you might choose to elevate your feet. You might choose to bring support to any part of your body that might not be resting on the mat, that might need a little bit more support today. Taking a moment in your own time to notice what your body might need and finding your way to that shape and finding those props that you might need to help get you to that place if you do have them. And if you don't have them, finding whatever lying down shape feels right for you this afternoon. Once you're settled into your shape, you might choose to close your eyes or keep a soft gaze in front of you. Maybe starting to notice your body once more and maybe noticing how you might be lying on the ground. Maybe noticing what parts of your body are lying on the mat and maybe what parts might not be touching the mat at all. Allowing yourself to pause in this shape, allowing yourself to notice. And if you'd like, I'll be quiet for the next 2 minutes of class. So feel free to move in any way that you might like during that time, or feel free to be still during that time. In your own time, whenever you're ready, maybe slowly starting to bring some movement back into your body. You might choose to wiggle your fingers and your toes. Another choice might be to move your wrists and ankles in circles. And another choice might be to bring your arms up overhead for a full body stretch. Finding any other way to move that your body might be calling for this afternoon. Maybe rolling to one side, possibly taking a few moments in that space. And whenever you're ready, slowly making your way to a seated shape. Finding your way there in your own time. Making your way to seated whenever you're ready. And if you'd like, maybe bringing your palms in front of your chest. Finding your palms in front of your chest whenever you'd like. May the light within me honor the light within each of you. Namaste. Thank you for joining me for today's practice. My name is Kristin O'Donnell, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your evening. Take care, everyone.